Hello, this is Mehdi reporting from the Brain and Cognitive Sciences Department at MIT. Today I'll be talking about one of the most important neuroscience discoveries in our recent history. Vision is crucial to our understanding and navigation of the world, as humans and as primates. Yet, although the visual system is one of the most well-studied areas of neuroscience, there are still fundamental questions that remain unanswered, and new findings have elucidated some of these mechanisms. So in this very clever experiment, what they did was there was a patient who was presented with an image of a basketball to their right visual field as they were recording fMRI signals from their brain. As you can see from the scan, what they found was that the activation in the contralateral side, the left visual cortex, resembled the image of the basketball itself. And the reason why we hypothesize this is when the image hits the back of the retina, there's a strict mapping from each part of the retina to the LGN in the thalamus, and thus to the visual cortex. And so, any image that's projected onto the retina will retain its form into the visual cortex, thus resulting in an activation in the visual cortex that resembles the object itself, in this case, a basketball. But more so, they then ask the patient to imagine a dinosaur in their head. They weren't presented with an image of a dinosaur. Yet, when the patient imagined the dinosaur, lo and behold, the same finding was discovered. In their visual cortex, there was activation patterns that resembled the shape of the dinosaur that they were imagining. This elucidates some very important mechanisms that our brain uses to imagine things, to build mental images. And so these results suggest that when we imagine things which are functions directed by the prefrontal cortex, you actually activate the same pattern in your visual cortex as if you were actually seeing the object. And so this leads into another insight into how our brain builds models of the world. Scientists and cognitive scientists think that our brain makes predictions of our world, for example, sensory expectations, and then compare that to the real input that it's getting. And so you can imagine that when your brain expects to see a dinosaur, it creates this activation pattern in the visual cortex of the dinosaur it expects, and then creates a replica dinosaur of what it actually sees, and it compares the two shapes of the dinosaurs in the visual cortex. In this way, with that error, your brain can build models of the world, mental imagery, and this implicates, the function of dreams and how possibly your dreams could be involved in simulating the world. And so a lot of cognitive scientists like to think that one of the ways the brain learns about the world is by simulating it in their head, and our evidence suggests that maybe that simulator is actually the visual cortex. This brings another important aspect, which is possibly in the future where we could record fMRI in a mobile manner, we could actually look into what people are imagining or thinking about or seeing, and even while they're asleep, what they're dreaming about, just by looking at a movie of their visual cortex. And this is one of the most groundbreaking findings in neuroscience history, and we are excited to see where this research will go in the future. Thank you very much.